Arata was the pirate queen of the Western Ocean, and now she sails the Vilayet Sea, feared and respected by all who sail the waters of Thuria. She was a tall and slender woman with red hair, graceful, and a beauty. She wore a leather vest, breeches, and boots, and carried a khopesh sword at her side. She commanded a swift and sturdy ship that she commissioned, the Pale Pearl, and a loyal crew of rogues and outcasts she won in a game of dice. Her partner at arms was Dalinsia the Cimmerian, a female barbarian from the Northlands. She was a fierce and formidable warrior, with blonde hair and blue eyes, and muscles that rippled under her skin. She wore a chainmail bikini with a fur cloak, a horned helmet, and wielded a massive battle axe that could cleave a man in two. She was Arata's friend and adventure companion, and they shared a bond of trust and truth. One day, as they were sailing near the eastern shore of the Vilayet Sea, they spotted a Turanian ship on the horizon. It was flying the flag of King Yildiz, a tyrant who ruled over Turin with foul sorcery and an iron fist. Arata knew that the Turanians were her equal, for they had raided villages, enslaved people, and killed in the name of their gods. She had to follow her orders or die just the same. She also knew that they carried rich treasures and spoils from their conquests. She decided to attack them and take their loot. She ordered her crew to prepare for battle, and Dalinsia stood by her side, ready to fight. The White Pearl closed in on the Turanian ship, and soon they were in firing range. Arata gave the signal, and her archers let loose a volley of arrows at the enemy. The Turanians returned fire with their crossbows, but their aim was poor, and their bolts fell short. Arata steered her ship alongside the Turanian vessel, and threw grappling hooks to board it. She leapt onto the enemy deck, followed by Dalinsia and her crew. They clashed with the Turanian soldiers, who were armed with scimitars and shields. The battle was fierce and bloody, but Arata and Dalinsia fought with skill and courage. They cut down their foes left and right, leaving a trail of corpses behind them. They reached the captain's cabin, where they expected to find the Turanian leader and his treasure chest. They kicked open the door, only to see a woman in black robes sitting on a throne of bones. She had a pale purple skin, red eyes, and a glowing green bracelet. She held a rod in her hand, topped with a skull that glowed with an eerie light. "Who are you?" Arata whispered in her mind. "I am Amala Khwarizm, the sorcerer of exile," the woman said in a raspy voice. It echoed in her head. "And you fools have fallen into my trap." "A trap?" Dalinsia asked. "Look outside," Arata said. Arata and Dalinsia looked out the cabin window and gasped in horror. They saw a huge sea monster rising from the depths of the Vilayet Sea. It had scales like armor, claws like daggers, teeth like swords, and eyes like fire. It roared with fury and lashed out at both ships with its tentacles. "Kuthusa! It is my pet," Amala said. "I have summoned it from the abyss to do my bidding. It will destroy you all. Yagnatha Shagoth!" Arata realized that they had been tricked. The Turanian ship was not carrying treasure, but bait. Amala had lured them into an ambush, hoping to feed them to her monster. She cursed under her breath, then turned to Dalinsia. "We have to get out of here," she said. "How?" Dalinsia asked. "We have to kill her," Arata said. She pointed at Amala. "She controls the beast with her rod," she said. "If we destroy it, maybe we can stop it." Dalinsia nodded. "Let's do it," she said. They charged at Amala, who raised her rod and uttered a dark spell. A blast of purple corruption energy shot out from the skull on the rod, hitting Arata in the chest. She flew back against the wall and dropped her sword. "Arata!" Dalinsia cried. She swung her axe at Amala's head, but she blocked it with what seemed like thin air. Then the metal blade clashed with the bone skull on her rod, creating sparks. Amala laughed. "You're no match for me," she said. She pushed Dalinsia back with her rod, then pointed it at her throat. "Die," she said. She was about to unleash another eldritch blast of energy when she heard a voice behind her. Not so fast. She turned around and saw a man standing in the doorway. He was a Turanian thief, dressed in a leather tunic, pants, and a hood. He had a sly grin on his face and daggers in his hands. "Who are you?" Amala asked. "I am Ka'al, the master of stealth," the man said. "I am what I am." He threw his dagger at Amala's hand, hitting it with precision. Amala dropped the rod and screamed in pain. Ka'al ran into the cabin and picked up the rod. "Thanks for the souvenir," he said. He smashed the skull atop the floor, shattering it to pieces. The sea monster outside roared in agony and sank back into the water. Arata and Dalinsia got up from the floor and looked at Ka'al with surprise. "Who are you?" Arata asked. "I told you, I'm Ka'al," he said. "I was on your ship hiding in a barrel. I'm a stowaway. You don't remember me from the exile lands? You killed my clan." "Why did you help us?" Dalinsia asked. "Because I like you," he said, "and because I hate her." He pointed at Amala, who was lying on the floor, bleeding and moaning. "She killed my brother," he said. "He was a Turanian spy who also betrayed her. I swore to avenge him." He kicked Amala's foot. Her body shimmered, faded, then disappeared with the power of her foul magic. "Besides," he added slowly, "I hear there's a lot of treasure on this ship." He looked around the cabin, hoping to find something valuable. Arata and Dalinsia exchanged a glance, then smiled. They liked this thief. He was brave and clever. He'd saved their lives. They decided to take him with them, as a friend, and as a new clan member. They left the cabin and returned to their ship. They cut the grappling hooks and sailed away from the Turanian vessel. They left Amala's memory behind. Fate would bring them together again in the final battle. They celebrated their victory and shared their stories. They found out what they had in common. They were all adventurers seeking freedom and fortune in the Hyborian world. They all decided to sail together as a team. They called themselves Vilayet Bay Inc. They had many more adventures on the Vilayet Sea and beyond. They fought enemies, found treasures, made friends. They lived by their own rules. They followed the will of Crom.